Well, welcome back, folks. Yesterday was, of course, the monthly meeting of United Mutual, and we showed that to you live in the morning. And it ran 3 hours and 7 minutes. We'll be bringing that to you tomorrow at 1:30 a replay, and then next week at 6 p.m. We have on here today the president of United Mutual Board, Roger Turner, and also Polly Spar, and she's with the Candidate Information Committee. Welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. And I want to start off with something that was really nice yesterday, and that was that you gave, during your remarks, accolades to somebody we know, Nancy Johnson. And she is, of course, she helps put together the Right Now show. You don't see her on camera. She's kind of behind the scenes and puts together that script and all that we show several times a month here. But you gave her some nice accolades, so I want to do that as well.
Well, thank you, Ken. That was an absolute pleasure for me. This lady is a member of United. I don't know her. I only found out about it with the article that was, the letter that was produced in the Globe explaining, but the bottom line is that she saved a life.
Yeah.
A life. I think the guy, Tony, was like 58. So, you know, a young guy, and she was in the situation where she responded and took the initiative to go and do CPR on this guy. Yes, she's a registered nurse, and that has been her life. But what I told her, and I think the way I convinced her to come to the meeting, was that there are so many of us that get in situations that we don't do what we maybe should do in the circumstance, and what we all need is a little bit of inspiration, a little example of what people do and how important it is. And so I was very happy that she came and was recognized. It's certainly wonderful to know that you have people like that, you know, as your neighbors.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I know she was didn't really want the accolades. You could see her get out of there as quick as possible, but and she may not want it now, but we know her here, so we'll give that to her.
Yes, I found out she was an author. I didn't.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
she's
she
with the Writers Club.
She certainly is.
I
didn't
know her at all, but it was a pleasure for me to introduce her.
Yeah, and you know, we often have the Disaster Preparedness Task Force give us a monthly update when they have their CPR classes. They just had one a few days ago. They had one on giving CPR to children, which is different. So, you know, it's great that people go down there and learn that and help your neighbors out. You know, that's the key. All right, well, Polly's here today. You are with the Candidate Information Committee for United. And coming up in August, there will be, I believe, 3 positions available.
There are.
And talk to me a little bit about that. This committee, so to speak, has changed over the years, in that at one time it was like a nominating committee, and then you couldn't really go down that road anymore. Now it's an information committee, giving people what they, the information on how to become a candidate and how to apply for it and all that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the United Mutual candidacy, what you have to do is just nominate yourself, self-nominate, go into the United board meeting, and you're welcome to come. We're looking for talented, enthusiastic people who would like to become candidates to replace 3 directors whose terms will be expiring on our board. If you are able to self-nominate by calling Patty Corsett at 597-4265. Patty can send you the paperwork to get the process started. One thing to remember, as you mentioned, is the deadline for candidates to file is Friday, August 9.
So it's still a far way off, but now is the time for people who are considering this.
Considering.
And this is for 3 terms that are full terms, 3-year terms, am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's 3 people moving off.
Okay, all right, very good. Speaking...
Could I just add something? You know, what they are doing is, I think, very important, because there's so many people that think that I might consider that, but I don't have a clue of what's involved. And all of these people are experienced in it, and in fact, the committee also includes former board members. So people can go on a casual, just tell me what I'm getting involved in or what is important. So it's a very nice opportunity for them to serve people that are interested. That's
Yeah,
all-
a
that's all
good
I
way
wanna
to,
say.
yeah, exactly, a good way to find out what's really involved, and I think
Right.
that's important. Very good. Speaking of elections, we, of course, United is going to be having their special election on the rule change that eliminates the 6-month lease. And as we've been saying, we have it on the screen here, that ballots should go out on or about April 19th.
Right.
And tell me a little bit about has the ballots been written out? Has the verbiage been locked in yet?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
I think I commented yesterday that the board had a meeting about a week ago. And at this meeting, there was a 3-hour collaboration on virtually every word on the ballot. The important thing is and I reference the California propositions only because I think most of the time those things are so difficult
Yeah.
for people to understand. They don't know whether they know what their position is, but they don't know whether to vote yes or no. Anyway, so there was a concerted effort by the board to make sure that all the wording in this was as clear as possible. And so I think that that's an important thing. And now that is done, and it is in the hands of Martin and Chapman, who's a professional organization that handles elections. And by the way, I'm advised that either today or tomorrow they are mailing out a postcard, and the postcard advises the members that there is a ballot that is coming.
Okay.
And you're right, the ballot is supposed to be mailed out on the 19th. At the same time, I think on the 19th, it will be posted online. It's not available now because of, as you can imagine, legal concerns.
Right.
Of making sure that there's not some improper duplication or something last minute change by the election committee. So it won't really be officially available until the 19th when it's
Okay.
mailed out. But
right.
after that, then the residents will have 30 days. They're supposed to have it returned by the
May
I think
20th?
5 p.m. I think on the 20th, and then there will be a meeting on the 22nd, I think at 9 o'clock, in which the election company will conduct in front of everyone the vote. I don't know whether you televise that.
I don't know if we do. I know.
It's kind of a long
Yeah,
process.
usually we haven't in that. Of course, this is new. This is almost like the first time there's a sort of a proposition like our
Well,
state does. But
okay.
I think normally when the ballots are being counted, we haven't televised that, for the standard
very
elections.
boring.
Yeah, and
It's
then
a long
we bring the outcome of it the
Right.
next
Yeah,
day.
you
Yeah.
might capture the last half hour
Yeah.
or
We
We
something
could call
like
you
that.
it.
Just to be sure, the ballot, when it gets posted online, isn't a ballot per se. It's a sample. People can see what it says, just to make sure there's not online voting.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, that's true, and it's also available for download and printing. But I'm advised that it has a watermark on it.
Right.
I really don't know how they
It's
do
really
that.
for a reference. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Uh-huh.
It's for an information purpose.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Obviously, the residents, the members, will have their own ballot. So, okay?
Yeah, there you are. All right. Maybe one day we'll have online voting here. Maybe
I'm
one day our
sure.
state
I'm
will.
sure.
All right. Couple of things that happened at the meeting yesterday. One of them, you looked at a motion to talk about the election standard operating procedures, and that was talked about, and you voted that has a 30-day notification requirement. But entertain motion to approve United Revised Membership Election Standard Operating Procedures. And is that something that it just makes things a little bit clearer about the way that the elections
Ken,
will be held?
I really can't comment much on the details of that.
Okay.
It is primarily something that is being done by staff to make sure that we are current.
Okay.
There are changes coming along, as was noted in the meeting, and so this is an effort to make sure that the board's procedures are current.
Okay.
That's what that's all about.
Okay, current with what the state
State.
requires.
Exactly,
and
because
Davis
they're
drilling it
always
off.
changing
It
things.
seems that way, doesn't
Right.
it?
Mhm.
All right, then yesterday you also talked about, this was under new business, discuss and consider the interview process for a new council. I assume that the current council, they had a certain amount of a term, maybe a contract term, and now it's coming due, and you're looking at either renewing or possibly interviewing other council.
Well, it isn't exactly a term coming due. I mean, the board has the right to retain a council for whatever length of time they would like to retain.
Okay.
In this case, you may recall that at last year, the board, because of their concern about the continuity of a number of things that were facing the board, they discussed with and ended up establishing a retainer with the current council for this year. Just quickly, the council was very cautious about this. It was only achieved with the full acceptance of the full board. So every board member had to sign that they approved and agreed with that process. So that was done, and that extends really through this year.
Right.
What is done at that point is again up to the board. The thing was raised because of the question about the process, what was involved in
Right.
the process, and of course that was answered, that there is a process. Obviously, they've gone through this before. It's a rather straightforward process, but there was some discussion about some possible changes to the process, and it will probably be on the agenda next month.
Okay, and yeah, at the end, that was, you voted on whether or not you wanted to put it on add it to the agenda
Well,
right that moment, and then it was,
It required a 2/3,
Yeah.
and it did not receive the 2/3.
all right, something that was actually taken off the agenda and was originally under new business was to discuss and consider cutting off funding for the special election. I assume they were talking about this special election coming up, and as we just talked about, coming up in just a couple weeks.
Yes, that's true. You know, as is probably, everyone is probably well aware, there's been a lot of difference of opinion from one side to the other side about this leasing issue. But in each case, the board has moved forward. And then, of course, along came the petition.
Right.
And the petition was specifically to require the board to go to a community vote. And all of this has been discussed and challenged and so forth, and it has moved forward. And so where we have been is getting everything ready. They've approved the election committee, they approved the wording on the ballot, they approved the schedule on the ballot as we discussed a little earlier. And finally, you know, comes the funding. So this issue was there on the agenda, but at the beginning of every meeting, you have to approve the agenda.
Right.
And before the agenda was approved, there was a motion to remove that item from the agenda. So, and the vote was to remove it. So there wasn't further discussion about the
Right.
defunding. In fact, I can just say that yes, it is proceeding. So everything is moving forward.
All right, and finally, we're running a little bit out of time here, but something that's been discussed on and off for literally years, but Charlie Hammer talked about this on both, this kind of involves both the M&C committee and landscape. It kind of rolls into this, and this is, of course, the walkway lighting subcommittee, and as you have said many times, and as Charlie said yesterday, it's just not a matter of putting in brighter light bulbs or quickly putting up lighting. I mean, you're talking, I don't know how many, hundreds, maybe thousands of walkway lights. It's a big project to tackle and to get it right. And there's so many options nowadays.
Ken, you're so right. It is such a challenging thing. There's a lot of technical challenges, a lot of, what should I call them? regulation challenges. I'm talking about, you know,
Codes.
the electrical and the
Yeah.
standards and all that. Plus, there's a lot of financial challenges. It is not cheap. At the same time, most people in this community would quickly endorse the fact that we need to update our walkway lighting. It is really not really sufficient and certainly could use a little more current look. But I can tell you, for anyone that is interested, they have the opportunity and they should attend these subcommittee meetings. I believe that Director Hammer has done an outstanding job working with staff. They are moving forward, and their goal is to try and get a pilot, an area, and I think they are looking at cul-de-sac 7 because of some previous work. But their goal is to get a pilot area there where they can put in some new lighting and give them and the system and the people an opportunity.
Yeah.
Just as we did on cul-de-sac 67 with several things. Well, like the arbor over the trash that was commented on
Yeah, it
by
was,
one of
yeah.
the members yesterday. It's a great way for the board to move forward and to learn for themselves what's involved, to take a look, see how it looks, and to give the community a chance to see whether they like it or not. And that's exactly what's going on here with the lighting. But thank you for bringing it up. It is a challenging thing. And by the way, Director Hammer will be here on Friday,
Okay.
and he'll probably talk about landscape, and I'm sure he'll be willing
talk
to
a
talk
little bit about
the,
that.
of the
Right.
lighting, but I leave that to you and him.
All right. Well, I would say the only advantage to that it's taken so many years, is that I would say over the past 5 years, lighting technology has vastly changed.
It's true.
And the cost of LED lighting has really come down. So
true.
that's
Some opportunities there.
now the opportunities are
Less
there.
is better.
All right. Well, folks, we thank both Roger and Polly for coming on today. Again, we'll replay that meeting at 1:30 tomorrow. It's 3 hours and 7 minutes. And then again next week at 6 p.m. on Friday. Thank you for both coming
Well,
here
thank
today.
you,
Thank
Ken,
you.
and thanks,
Thank you.
Polly, for coming
Absolutely.
today.
All right.
Absolutely.
Folks, we'll be right back. And coming up next, we're going to learn about putting in some new windows.